Okay, like to have our department head, Alan Fleener, come through. Our animal control, Ed.
For the months of January this year, we received 246 calls at the shelter and 70 from the Lee County Sheriff's Department for a total of 316 calls. 19 strays and 17 owner surrenders for a total of 36 was picked up. 8 reclaimed, 11 adopted, 11 transferred, and 6 was euthanized. 2 horses have been seized for cruelty. One of them had to be put down due to its condition, and the other is still being held for the court date. $1,427.38 in fines and restitution with 3 summonses issued. Total number of dogs is actually down. A lot of that part is the weather we've been having. Along with 2, I've been working more, trying to be more proactive with changing the way I guess you'd actually do it. A caller calls in and wants to own or surrender their dog. Instead of me just running out there and picking it up, try to talk to them a little bit and make them understand that there's no guarantee what's going to happen to it. And if they will give me a picture and I can send it to the rescue and they can get it placed that way, and then that's another one. We don't have to feed and clean and the transport. It's a whole lot easier to send a picture over a telephone than it is to waste gas to go get it. And that's played a big part in the numbers that we've been having. I do, like I said, the amount of calls are not changing. A lot of it anymore is cruelty calls. People want us to come and check a lot of the animals, not being fed or watered, anything like that. I did go to Walmart the other day and I bought some tools and stuff to start scraping the paint off the panel to prepare to have it painted. I've just got to get a couple of trustees from the jail, and did want to mention to the board about possibly in the near future of looking into a horse/cattle trailer. We don't have one. I went to Wise County and talked to them, and they have one. I think they've got a 6 by 16 footer, and whenever we have to seize one, like I said, I have one in custody now. I have to beg, borrow, or steal, I guess you could say. Then I got to find a farmer that is willing to take it, and generally they're pretty good for the first time. Then down the road they don't want to fool with it again. It's a lot of responsibility. I did check at one place. I've not checked around a lot for a horse cattle trailer. Old Quinn's in Coburn, they quoted me a price around $5,000 for a brand new one. They said they would probably beat that for the county. I even spoke to Mr. Pohl a year or so ago about maybe after they build what they're doing over here at the landfill is fencing off around the shelter, just enough for the holding fees. The people that's holding these agriculture animals for us, they get $10 a day, and then the county goes after the person that actually owned the animal. If I did fence off a little spot up here, and I'd probably have to build a little shed or something for them to get under, the county would utilize that $10 a day. I can't give you a set number how many we do a year. I will be honest, we try to really work with people over their agriculture animals to keep from getting. For that reason, it's just so unbelievably hard to get them when I don't have access to stuff to get them with. Like I said, we've been real proactive with the public, and trying to go about things a little bit differently. And it seems to be taking effect. I do have now, I wanted to mention to the board that since September of 2015, I'm thinking it's 15. I'm pretty sure it's 15 head of cattle has been hit on the roadways in Lee County, plus 4 horses. And out of those 15, or 19 counting 4 horses, I've had one owner come forward on 2 of the horses. Almost in all cases, all 19 vehicles was totaled. I do have a code that I finally found in the code book that allows me to write a violation for agriculture animals being roadway. I do realize that I've farmed my whole life that you're going to have a cow or horse gets out occasionally. The people I'm really focusing on is ones that I put them up 3 or 4 times a week. But I do have a code. I spoke with Mr. Callahan about it. It is actually a state code. So I guess what I'm trying to say is if I do write that, unless the county adopts it, the county will not receive any kind of money for it. It'll all go to the state. I wanted to make the board aware of that. I haven't actually wrote it yet. I just spoke with Wise County and the Commonwealth Attorney up there about it. I wanted to make the board aware of it, that if he was interested in adopting that code, that the county would receive the money for it from the court fees and everything. I would really like to have the entire code book adopted. It would make it so much easier, because there's a lot of codes that if I do right, the county don't receive the money for it because it's a state code. That's about all I have this month.
Okay, that code book you talked about, does it deal just with the agricultural animals?
No, it's the agriculture and companion animals for the state of Virginia. Comprehensive animal laws for the state. Yeah, I would like to have the entire book. I don't actually have mine with me tonight, but it just makes it so much easier. The book that we have that the county has adopted, it's 2 or 3 pages. I would guess to say it's maybe 20-some codes, and there's probably 200 or more state laws. A lot of them never be wrote. A lot of them don't pertain to stuff that we even deal with, but a lot of them do. A lot of them do. It just, the biggest thing like I was talking about was on the agriculture animals, it would allow the county to collect that money from it directly instead of it going to the state.
How many agricultural animals do you say that you had hauled or transferred to another location during 2015?
I'm trying to think. Around 5. Yeah. Yeah, but you probably got triple that we went and worked with. Not 5 that we actually had to go pick up ourselves. You'll have 20 or 30 that we're responsible for it getting hauled. We'll call, deal with the individual. A lot of times have to charge them, and they'll surrender the animal, and then we can a lot of times have somebody else that wants the animal come to that property and get it. And of course, we have to be there. We're still involved no matter which way it goes, but we try to work it that way a lot of times, because like I said, we don't have the availability of all the time, especially 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning.
They are mainly horses.
Mainly, yeah. A few cattle occasionally. It's mainly, horses.
Those codes you were referring to, can you not get those offline? Are they not
What he's saying is their state code, many of them do not apply unless you adopt them locally. You have to adopt them as a local ordinance. But what we could do is adopt the entire section of state code dealing with those laws by reference to the state law. We would still have to hold a public hearing to adopt that as an ordinance for it to be a local code. If you cite it under state law, that money goes to the court, to the state. There's none of those fees stay local. We have a few traffic laws that we have adopted by ordinance as local statutes. And when you have those, when they cite by that local ordinance, we keep those fees when there's fines assessed in court. Otherwise, that money goes to the state. So that's what he's stating. And then our animal control laws that were adopted were probably last adopted, some of them in the 60s, maybe some others a little bit later, but most of them are old, very old, applying back to the 60s. Now, you can still write, he can still cite under state code, but that money goes to the state. We don't retain any of it.
That particular one I was referring to was, it actually states that each locality can adopt that code. It write it as their own. But it actually specifically says in here that if they don't, it's got to be written as a state code.
The one catch to having local ordinances is that, and this is true in the traffic cases, we have a few of these. If the person is deemed to not be able to afford counsel and they are provided court-appointed counsel, then the county has to pay for the court-appointed counsel out of the fees that we collect. So you're liable for that rather than the state paying that, you have to pay it.
Yeah, and I was going to mention real quick about the 15 head of cattle that's been hit and killed. Not all of those, really actually out of about the 15, only 2 of those actually were killed or dead by the time I arrived. We did have to put them down. State police will not do it. They'll sit there all night with it till we show up. I just mentioned it to Mr. Callahan a minute ago. I don't know, and I'm going to check with some of the other animal control throughout the state and ask them how they handle it. It's a big waste. I'd like to at least, if the Methodist Church over here with their food bank, if they'd like to have a 1,000-pound cow and I can get it to the slaughterhouse and they're willing to pay for it, to donate that meat to some family that needs it instead of letting it lay on the side of the road till the VDOT can come and take it to the landfill. I mean, there's been a whole lot of cattle that I've had to do away with and throw away. I don't really see the point in wasting all that meat. I've not had no owners come forward, truthfully, because they don't want to have to pay for vehicles, I guess. But I wanted to ask the board about that. I talked to Mr. Callahan. I am going to check with some other places in the state and see how they handle it. We've had a huge rise in cattle being hit on the highway within the past 6 months. I haven't seen it like that in 6 years that I've been here.
That's since the first of the year.
September of 2015.
Well, we see what the pros are. What's the cons to adopting this book?
The biggest negative, I guess, to adopting the entire state code as it deals, the comprehensive animal laws, is, like I said, you would have to be responsible for any court-appointed fees if there were any. There may not be that many. I mean, you know, it's not common. There were a few on the traffic cases. We would get a few every now and then, but typically not that many.
About the only, if I'm correct, Mr. Callahan, I think the only one where they would deal with an attorney would be on a cruelty case. Am I correct? And that's a criminal.
I can't say that's the only one, but
Right.
at the most, it'd be very few, because most of them, just carry a fine. or what have you, and council's not appointed on those.
Right.
So,
But your civil penalties, for example, rabies shot and county tags, I do it in front of the judge just like you would with a state trooper getting a traffic ticket. Mr. Callahan handles the dangerous dog charges for me because it's civil, and Mr. Fuller in his office represents me on the ones that carries criminal charges. I don't know. I don't know what the answer would be as far as.
Well, like I said, I don't think it would be much. I don't think there'd be many cases where you would have a court-appointed attorney on these cases.
So you need to have a public hearing, right?
We would have to have a public hearing on the proposed ordinance.
What's the notice on that?
2 weeks. If we could hold it at the next meeting.
You need to vote on that or the consensus or?
Consensus would be fine.
I'll go.
I'm seeing everybody's head nod, so I'm taking that as full consensus.
Okay.
Is that for that code or is the entire code book? Or?
All of it.
All of it.
We'll advertise it by reference. That should be sufficient, shouldn't it?
To that title, yeah.
And we can print out an actual written copy of the ordinance, of the code in our office so that it's available. But we can advise where they can find it online as well. And we'll put it on ours and put a link to the state code.
We could format it as we would any other county code or county ordinance and just have that there. You know, same thing as that title of the code.
That's about all I have.
Good job, Al. Okay, Mr. Josh Leonard.
Good evening. The community service totals and the dump site totals was down for the month of January due to the inclement weather. With the snow and the rain and stuff like that, I've not been able to get out and clean up many dump sites, nor has anybody been able to do community service. There's 126 people currently in the program, and 35 people participated for a total of 259 hours for a total of 150 bags. It was an average of 7 hours per person participating and an average of 4 bags per person participating. It was only a 28% participation, but of course that was due to the weather and stuff. I signed up 7 new people in the program. I generally, if the weather's bad, I don't try to add many new people because there's really no point because they cannot go out to pick up trash. In the past month, I did go out to Miller's Chapel, and we have picked up 84 bags of trash from the dump site. There was some mattresses, couches and stuff. We piled that up and all that's ready to be pulled up. And hopefully once the weather clears up just a little bit, we'll go up there and finish that dump site and continue with more throughout the county in the month of February and March. I generally try to go out 2 days a week, but I'm going to try to go out 3 to 4 days a week the next 6 weeks to try to catch up on some of the dump sites because of the weather. Also, I took copiers, fax machines, and some electronics over to the trailer, but the company we use right now is no longer going to take electronics. Once we fill the tractor and trailer up here, this time they will come get that, but they'll no longer be taking electronics. So I'm currently working trying to find another company that will take our electronics, so we'll be able to continue to take electronics from people and recycle them. I've spoke with probably about 5 companies, and all of them charge a fee to come and get it. There's about 8 more that I have that I'm going to contact, and I'm trying to find one that will take our stuff, and then they get the money, they just come and get it and don't charge us nothing to take it, because that's how it works now. We just collect the stuff, they take it, and then we don't have to pay them nothing for taking it, and it just keeps it out of the landfill and saves it from ending up in the landfill. On January 13th, I went to Marion for the monthly KSVB meeting, And at this meeting, we discussed the budget and bylaws for the organization, and we also discussed the golf tournament. We're going to actually try to do 2 golf tournaments this year, and this is what I've been working on in the time I've been in the office, is getting everything ready for the golf tournaments. I've been doing the flyers and stuff and the packets, and the next month's report I will have everybody a flyer and packet, just if they want to look at the golf, or if anybody wanted to participate in the tournament, they're more than welcome to. Well, the 2 golf tournaments this year, the one will be at Jenkins, Kentucky at Raven Rock Golf Course, and the other one will be in Bristol at Clear Creek Golf Club. I also in January, went to Lebanon to meet with the Southwest Virginia Community Corrections meeting. That's the meeting, I'm on the board, the probation officers and stuff for the Southwest Virginia, and we discussed their budget and things like that. I've not been able to finish the outdoor classroom due to the weather, but I'm going to, like I said, schedule a day when I have the trustees and we'll go up there and finish that. It's almost complete. There's just a few little minor details that we have to finish the trail. I've also been working on my educational presentation for the schools. In the month of May, I go to the schools and do a presentation. This year I'm focusing on the damages of litter or trash that ends up in the streams, the lakes, the creeks, oceans and stuff like that, and the effects that it has on various species of animals. I've also been working on setting up an event for Earth Day in April. We usually focus on a particular trail or park. I've have it narrowed down to 5 different places. I've not decided which one we'll do just yet, but I will in the next report have the information on which one we will do for Earth Day in April. And as far as the complaints are still the same as it was last month due to the weather and snow on the ground. I've not been able to go out and investigate if anybody's done anything because the snow's still going to be on top of the trash and stuff. I'm actually going out tomorrow to check on the complaints, the ones I have the list of, and then I have 8 new ones that I'm going to investigate as well. That's pretty much all I have. I'm going to, for the next month and stuff, I'm going to work on the dump sites and the complaints. That's the top priorities, is to get the complaints up to date and to get some of the dump sites cleaned up before it turns warm weather and we won't be able to go down the banks because of snakes and stuff that will be in the couches and stuff. So for the next month and a half, I'll be focusing on the complaints and the dump sites.
I heard one complaint coming in to the courthouse, and that was on the shredded paper that's just piled up in the corner down here.
And that has to do with Mike, and I do not know why Mike and Gary, Gary talks to Mike and stuff, and I've told them anytime they need me to get it to let me know, and I do not know why he's not coming by and picking it up, but I will find out and stuff why it's not getting picked up, because he's been coming by. He used to come by every Friday, and I think in the past 2 months he's been by 2 times in 2 months.
Doesn't leave a good impression.
No, I mean, I agree with you and stuff, but
Please get on to that.
the way it was, you know, said to me that through Gary and stuff is supposed to, but I will find out why it's not getting picked up, because I do agree it needs to be picked up every week.
The weather has been affecting all of our solid waste pickup for the past couple of weeks, so they've lost some days. When we've been able to work, they still haven't been able to get the trucks out.
Anybody else have any questions or anything?
Yeah, the 2 houses, one on Town Branch. What do you know about those? One on each end, that's actually what it is.
We're trying to get the one on this part of it condemned, because the house has fell in, it's unlivable, and we're trying to actually get that one condemned. And then this other one down here, I've sent the letter, but I've had no response on this other one on the other end. And that's where I'm at, so on that one. Like I said, I'm going out tomorrow and I'll get the pictures and stuff and try to contact these people again and stuff. I've sent out, actually this one I've sent out 2 letters and still not had no response, so, from the owners.
Well, we may have to take care of it for them.
Okay.
I know the last month we talked about a place down in Ewing, or on 15 times. Now that's really improved. I don't know if you got down there to them or what got to them, but now that's really improved and it's cleaned up down there. They did a good job.
when you mail those letters, are they certified letters?
They are certified.
Do they return them or
Yeah.
they accept them?
They don't return them. I don't get a receipt saying it's been picked up. Because I send it certified and ask for a return receipt when it gets picked up and it's not been picked up.
Any other questions? Okay.
Thank
Josh,
you.
we appreciate you coming. Okay, I think we have the treasurer report here on our desk. Is there any discussion by anybody concerning the treasurer report? If not, go on to number B. I've been dying to hear Fuller speak tonight. So come on up. Talk to us about your ideas here.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. Thank you for having me tonight and making some time for me. Hopefully by now you all at least know who I am, but for the record, I'm Fuller Cridlin. I'm New Cumberland's attorney in Lee County, and I'll try and keep it under about an hour and a half tonight. But actually, Dane told me to try and keep it under 5 minutes, and I'm happy to spend as much time with you all tonight as needed. But I do think my proposal is going to be very good for the county. I think it's very simple. It's not complicated. I previously submitted a written proposal, and I hope you all have had the chance to review that. I think you had it in your box last week. And what this is about is establishing a cost collection program in the Commonwealth's Attorney's Office. That's something that we've never had in Lee County. It's something that can bring additional revenue into the county. I'm excited about it. I'm excited about my office having the opportunity to do it. But in order to make it worth my time to do it, I need to make a deal with you all about where this money is going to go. And so that's why I'm really here tonight. What I'd like to start with is just by asking, if you have had the chance to review my proposal, if there's any questions or concerns right off the bat that you have for me. Yeah.
I have one. I did read your proposal and all that. Are you going to have to hire additional employees for your office to do this?
No.
It won't put an overload on your office.
No. It is additional work for sure.
Yeah.
But it's work that my office is capable of doing. So it would not require any additional employees.
Another question. Now the state is collecting these, right?
The Department of Taxation is
Right.
collecting.
And how much of that are we getting now?
None.
We're not getting
The
anything?
county sees none of this money. See, the way it works is in a criminal case, if there's or if there's a fine and cost that's been assessed in a criminal case, the clerk is responsible for collecting that for 30 days. After 30 days, it becomes delinquent. When it becomes delinquent, it's a criminal proceeding, and the Commonwealth's Attorney's Office is responsible for collecting it. The law allows me several different options in collecting it. One way is to farm it out to a private collection agency. Previously in Lee County, that's what's happened. Currently, and this is another option under the law, is to farm it out to the Department of Taxation and allow them to collect it. Now, all the revenue from the fines goes to the state, but whoever collects it is entitled to keep a percentage of what's collected as their fee. So whether it's a private collection agency or the Department of Taxation, they get to keep a percentage of what's collected as their fee. Now, if I collect it, if my office collects it, that percentage fee comes to the county. It just comes into the county general funds. What I'm asking the board to do is to supplement my office with that money that comes in as a result of my office collecting the fines.
How much money, how much of a fee are we talking about, percentage-wise?
If my office collects it, it's 17%. 17% of what's collected comes to the county.
Well, now, I know how the state is collecting this. They're taking people's tax refunds and holding them. So they have a real easy way of collecting this. What method are you going to use to collect this?
filing pleadings and initiating court proceedings to bring people into court and get them on a payment plan, filing different motions, a show cause or motion for contempt, hold them in a criminal proceeding, which essentially will force them to pay or suffer the consequence of what happens if
What's
you
gonna happen?
if you fail to pay on a show cause or a contempt. You could be jailed for that, or violate your probation.
Do you think that's gonna be successful?
Well, not 100% of the fines and costs are
What
collected.
percentage of how successful do you think it will be? 50%?
I couldn't answer that. There's too many variables each year that affect that high and low. And last year, I think the money that would have been collected was around $34,000. That's the money that would have come into the county. And other years, would have been a lot less. That's actually kind of on the high side. But all those numbers I've submitted, that's part of my proposal of what's been collected in the last 5 years out of Lee County. And Lee County has received none of that money. Even if we're not 100% successful in collecting these fines and costs, whatever is collected, that revenue comes into the county, which is the point.
I just know how successful a state is in collecting from my clients from their state tax refund. And I know my clients will definitely enjoy the fact that they're going to be getting their full tax refund, not having to pay these big fines and charges out of their tax refund. And now they got their money on their tax refund. They don't spend that money, and they are not going to come and pay their fines with you without a lot of discretion.
Sorry, I didn't catch the end.
They're not going to come and pay their fines and with you with their tax refund.
Well, the court can order the money to be taken out of their tax refund.
Oh, they can?
Yes. If there's delinquent fines and costs that's owed as part of the probation, the court can do that.
Now, if you do
Yeah,
that,
any settlement or tax refund that comes in,
you still can do that. You
Yeah.
can get that money.
yeah, that's a pretty common way for the court to collect it.
And the county still gets it all that way if the court,
The county gets the collection fee. The revenue from the fines and costs goes to the state unless
Right, that's
unless it's
right.
written on a county
But
ordinance or a
But
state.
you can get the fee for collecting, even by collecting it through their tax refund.
As far as I know, if the costs are collected in that way, then the fee would still be assessed to the collector.
If you could do that, it might work. Otherwise, I don't know. But you don't be collecting that much.
Well, this is not a revolutionary idea. I mean, Commonwealth's attorney's offices all across the state do this same exact thing. We're kind of rare in that we don't.
yeah. Now, is there any way that you could come up with like maybe the last, say, 4 or 5 years, how much it was actually?
Yeah, that's actually part of what I've submitted. There's numbers for fiscal year 2011, 2012, 13, 14, and 15 of the net and gross collections. It totals the net $526,623.24. So you take a percentage of that, which would be the collection fee, and of course Lee County see none of that.
Well, that's what I was getting at there. You said that the last year it was somewhere around $34,000.
Yeah, you'd have to do the math on each year there, but that's the net.
The 34 is the fee for collecting, right?
Right.
It's the total number of taxes or
Or you
that
collect.
was collected. Well, you know what? We've sent money to the state for years, and they don't send you anything back except an unfunded mandate. And if we can get $34,000, we need to get it.
Some money's better than none.
Well, you know, it all depends on how much extra your workload is too. I mean, how
Right,
much,
it's
you know,
workload
all
we
that
can
has
handle.
to be based upon what you're gonna take in. I mean, $34,000 wouldn't mean a whole lot if you put a whole lot of hours in it, and a whole lot of people had to go, you know, you had to hold extra court hearings and everything else for those people.
Right. No, I think we can have it where we set all these collection days for one day a month. I've talked to other Commonwealth attorneys in the state that have utilized this, and it is extra work. I think that I have the manpower in my office to take it on, and as far as cluttering the docket, that just won't happen, because we'll set them all for one day when there's nothing set, and have all these cases set for that one day.
I just don't know the mechanism that you use. You get a judgment, right?
Well, it's not, no, it's not a judgment. I mean, it's very similar to collecting a judgment in like a civil sort of way.
Then how do you get them to pay?
Initiating proceedings with the court.
With the sheriff's office?
With the circuit court. The circuit court will enforce.
And then if they don't pay, you arrest them?
Potentially.
You take them to jail?
Potentially, that's what happens, or have a violation of their
I thought
probation.
you couldn't jail somebody for a debt.
Well, it's part of their probation to repay their fines and costs. So it's a violation of their probation if they don't.
Somebody for violating a court order.
Typically, in the court order, just to circle back to your question earlier about the tax returns, it's pretty standard in the court order that any settlement that they get from a tax return be, you know, go to what cost, go to their delinquent fines and costs. That's pretty standard in most of the court orders. Now let me go into a little bit more detail about why it's so important this year in particular for my office to be able to do this. The last several years, the amount of money my office has received for office expenses has been $26,152. Okay, and this year, starting in July, starting the fiscal year, that's being reduced from $26,000 to $13,000. It's a pretty massive reduction. My office already does not have equipment that I think is up to date. There's a lot of ways we can utilize technology in prosecuting cases, and what we have, we're way behind. And I can use this money to help catch us up and to utilize some of these new technologies into prosecuting these criminal cases. With $13,000 a year, we're barely getting by. If we can bring in some more revenue in this way, then we can buy some real equipment and have a pretty good operation going there in the courtroom.
I just don't want these guys getting off and not paying their fines. So if you guys can do the job, I'm for it.
Well, yeah, we follow the law and we can do the job, bring them into court and get these fines paid. Go ahead.
The only thing I have about it, I've read your plan now, but we, minus a board member here tonight, I would rather, of course, the chairman about this, and table this to next month and study this plan some more and have the full board here to vote on that, is to go ahead tonight and try to have a vote on it.
Yeah, that's your choice, that's fine.
I think it needs to be studied some more, and I've read your plan, I've read all about it, and, but
The county has never supplemented my office, and that's perfectly fine. I'm not asking for the county to supplement my office with any of the general county funds, although in most counties that does happen. The county does supplement the Commonwealth Attorney's Office with county funds. It's never been the case in Lee County, and that's fine, like I said. And all I'd be asking for in this situation is for the county to supplement my office with the funds that come in only as a result of my office collecting these fines and costs.
so you can update your equipment.
Exactly. To offset the reduction, the massive reduction that my office is seeing in the office supply money. But in order to do this, of course, we need to sign this contract. Again, that's part of the proposal that just kind of lays all this out. So please take all the time you need to review everything. And
Who will make the final decision? Your office or or us?
Me, my office will make the final decision because I have the authority under the law to collect these fines and costs. What I'm telling the board is that I'm not going to do that unless I have a deal with you all that my office gets the money when it comes in. It's not worth my time.
So we decide where the money goes.
The money he collects, it's gonna come to the board.
Yeah.
And he wants what he
He wants
collects,
us to give the money to him.
so he can update his office.
Otherwise, it's not worth my time to do it. I'm not going to spend valuable resources to collect these fines and costs and have the money come back to the county if my office doesn't see any benefit from that. Especially since the county does not supplement my office like most counties do. But again, I'm not asking the county to supplement my office, but with this reduction, it's, you know, foreseeable that I could find myself in a pinch later on in the year that I might need to come to you and ask for money to buy equipment, you know, if we're not able to make this work.
And down the road, you won't have to hire anybody else to help do this job.
That's right. But this money also can be used to, if there's enough of it, and there probably won't be in our situation, but in other counties where there's much more revenue, they've actually used this money to hire an entirely new employee. I don't think that would be the case here. I don't think I could get enough money to hire a new employee, maybe somebody part-time. But my staff is more than capable of taking this on. That I'm very sure of. I have experience in civil collection work, as does another employee in my office, and I think it's something we're more than capable of doing.
What's Wise County doing?
Wise County gets a supplement from their board, and I'm not sure if they're going to do this as well. You may have some inside information about that.
I don't have any inside. You got more inside information than I do.
Yeah. Well, I'm not sure. Maybe you could ask him.
Maybe.
They don't need the money as badly as we do, or as badly as I do.
Well, I certainly want to see you get the money you need, but, you know, I just don't like to see, you know, maybe somebody get an extra workload, and, you know what I'm saying, for no more money than that is, because I think we could probably, some way or another, find it if you had to have it, but
You could adopt it, and then if it doesn't work out, give it back to them.
Well, I don't think I understand your question.
Okay, you take it on. A year later, you say, oh, we can't handle this. This is just too much work. Can you give it back to the state?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I could do that at any time.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, if I determine that based on what's coming in, it's not worth our while, then I'll just stop doing it. The law gives me the authority to do it or not do it. I get to make that decision. What I'm telling you is it wouldn't be worth my time to do it unless I was seeing some of the money that's coming into the county. But I'd be more than happy to take on the extra work if I was able to see some of that money. Scott County does this, I can tell you that. They've done it very efficiently. And that's kind of the model I'm going to use, is the same model that they use there. Because they, like us, don't get a supplement from the county. And they have a really impressive operation there in terms of their courtroom technology, which is what I'd like to see here in Lee County. I think we can do a lot better in the courtroom. We don't have the equipment right now to do a complex case. I mean, honestly, we don't. I mean, there's so many ways to utilize technology within the courtroom, and right now we can't do any of it. I have 90 days to break the contract that I have with the Department of Taxation. So next month, I believe we'd be cutting it close because it does come up at the end of June, which would be, I think if we did it next month, that would still give me 90 days.
What do y'all think? You want to table it, or somebody want to make a motion to go ahead and pass it?
Personally, I'd like to let Nathan get a chance to speak on it. You know, especially if you said that would still keep you in a time limit if we done it next month.
Yeah.
Okay.
fiscal year ends June 30, so I think May 30 would be my drop dead day on that.
Yeah, I'd make a motion that we table till the next month, you know, all board members are
One
present.
second.
Second.
You all in favor of tabling it? Okay, we'll let you know next month.
Okay, thank you very much for your time.
Appreciate it.
Public expression, we have anybody here that wants to give some expression? No expressioners? All right. Approval of the minutes. Has everybody read the minutes and found no errors that they want to correct? If so, do I hear a motion to approve the minutes?
So moved. Second.
All in favor? Aye. Okay. Payroll warrants have been issued. Okay, approval of distributions. Paying the bills. Do I hear a motion?
So moved.
Second? All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Okay, monthly appropriations, we done that, right?
No, that's the appropriations for the school board and social services for 1 month.
All right. The appropriation for the school,
Make a motion, we approve monthly resolution 16-002.
now here's a second.
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 All in favor?
Mr. Chairman, they're under finance. It's not in the packet, but I think it's been distributed. We have a supplemental appropriation request from social services in the amount of $328,000. This is additional federal and state revenue. There's no local match required, and just request that the board would approve this.
Now, what is this for?
It's foster care and adoption subsidy funding from state and federal
Oh, yeah,
sources.
we got to pass this. So, I'll make a motion that we approve this appropriation from social services. Can I hear a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right. Are we to new business?
Yes, sir.
Okay, Mr. Paul?
The first item is board appointments, and that first board appointment is to Appalachian Community Action. I think there was one appointment made last month, and the second one was tabled.
If nobody has anything, I'll take it back.
Sure.
You want it?
No.
You have it. I'm gonna withdraw if you want it.
I don't care, Joe, if you want it, you can take it.
You want it?
I was just gonna take it because we didn't feel it.
I'll give it to you anytime.
You go ahead, take it.
I don't feel bad about that. Nominate Larry.
No, I think Charlie.
I'll put up with them.
You're already familiar with it, so. I make a motion, we appoint Charles Slim to the Appalachian Community Action.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye. Charlie, you can have it.
Any nays? Nay.
The next item under board appointments is a planning commission appointment. That is from District 3.
Make a motion, reappoint Reba Nelson.
I'll second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, next is, St. Charles Water Authority.
I'll make a motion to reappoint Elijah Scott.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Southwest Virginia Health Authority. You know anything about, Eddie?
Well, Dr. Cantrell has talked to me a couple times. Advised that we were just gonna wait this out until his term was up before we did anything. She advised that she had contacted him to see if he was still interested, and he told her that he was, but then the very next meeting he did not attend. And I don't think they've met anymore since then. I've not had any further correspondence from her. That was probably about 45 days ago, maybe, when she gave me that. So I have no idea. They had talked to him before once about, was he going to continue to serve, or did he want to be replaced? And he said no, he was interested, but he won't attend any of the meetings.
Well, I think we ought to, that's what they do. Larry, you want that one?
No.
And one of the reasons that I guess she's trying to stress the importance of getting someone on there from Lee County, the health authority will be one of the agencies, will be reviewing the Wellmont Mountain States merger proposal. That's within state law, that they have to review that and provide a recommendation on that, whether to approve it or not.
Is this a medical experienced appointment?
It's just an appointment from Lee County. Every county gets a representative on there. We have not always had someone with any kind of medical background appointed to that. Mark Carter served at one time.
Okay. How often do you meet?
I'm not sure if they're meeting on a regular basis right now, or if they're just meeting as needed.
What about that? Chairman,
What?
what about that?
Yeah, Dane? You serve?
I'm an employee, I can't say no. I'll do as I'm told, or try to.
You'll do it? Okay, Larry says he'll do it. I nominate Larry.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, board appointments for March is Brookie Road and Woodway Water Authority. Now, on to new business.
First item there is a new transfer station pay request number 8. It's in the amount of $169,283.65. That was for work completed through January 8th. Now, that one has been reviewed and approved by the architect. We got off schedule over the last couple of months. The architect was late getting us the pay request last month. And so that was actually the pay request for the prior month that we approved last month. And that's pretty much the case here. This was work completed through January 8th. We were trying to get caught up. The contractor has submitted a pay request. He sent me a copy of it. This was last Wednesday that he sent this to the architect, but I still don't have approval from the architect yet on the review. I was hoping to have it in place. At the same time, what I would like to request is approval definitely of the 169,283.65 and tentative approval by the board, or contingent approval for pay request number 9, which is in the amount of $26,133.31. They didn't really get to work much past month, but they did do some work. But I hate to hold them up again. I mean, we're already behind schedule in the pay process because of delayed paperwork moving around, and I'd like to get caught up this month, if at all possible. So I would like to ask for definite approval on request number 8 and contingent approval on pay request number 9 as soon as I get the architect's approval on the pay request.
Is that thing about 87% done?
Yes.
There's,
Well, with stored materials, because the building materials are all on site. The building has been sitting on site for a month or better now. They've not had the weather to get the final pad poured. All the retaining walls are up. They just haven't been able to pour the final pad and put the building up. But the materials are on site.
so you want to, us to approve the 2?
Yes, I would like approval for the pay request number 8 complete, and then contingent approval on the other, contingent on receiving approval from the architect.
Okay. Do we need to put that into 2 motions? Or
One motion would be fine.
Okay. Somebody needs to make a motion.
So moved.
I'll say.
All in favor?
The next item, item C, is the cost allocation plan proposal. In your packet, you had a proposal from Robinson Farmer Cox Associates for preparation of the county's annual central services cost allocation plan. This allows the county, particularly the Department of Social Services, to recover costs associated with administering federal grants and programs. It's required to submit the annual cost allocation plan each year to the State Department of Social Services in order for them to make these calculations. We can either take the proposal for a 1-year agreement or 3-year agreement. If we do it for 1 year, it would cost $4,200. If we take the 3-year proposal, it's a total of $11,400 with an annual payment of $3,800, which is $400 a year savings, or $1,200 total over the 3-year period. I would recommend that we do it for a 3-year period.
I agree. I'll make a motion that we enter the 3-year agreement with Robinson Farmer Cox.
I'll second that.
Did you second that?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Item D is a request for a local match from the Sheriff's Office for a bulletproof vest grant. They are requesting to submit an application to the Office of Justice Programs bulletproof vest program. They would like to replace 30 of their bulletproof vests and also provide 2 for the animal control officers, since they are sworn officers. Their old vests are now 6 years old. They were obtained under the same grant, and the replacement cycle for these vests is every 5 years. So we're already 1 year past what the recommendation is. It's a 50-50 match on the funding, 50% federal, 50% local. They're asking for 32 vests at $679 a vest, which costs $21,728, which would require a local match of $10,864. Now, we do not have money particularly budgeted for that for this year, but by the time the grant is put in and we get notification back and make the purchases, we'll be in the next budget year. So this is something that we could include in our next year's budget and have the funds there to cover it when the bill actually comes in, if you approve it.
What was that again, 21,728?
21,000, that's the total.
Total.
The county's portion of that would be half, or $10,864.
Right.
Yeah, I'd make that motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
The next item is the Extension Office project pay request and proposed change order. she's distributing the actual copy of the pay request. I apologize for some of these items coming in. The snow and the weather's been playing havoc on everybody's schedules. We stayed pretty much on schedule with ours getting the packet out last week, but everybody else didn't have everything to us on time. But we do have the first pay request on that project for the addition and remodeling of that building there in Pennington for the extension office. The total amount to be paid and requested tonight is $33,627.60. As of Friday before last, they had the addition under roof. They were putting shingles on that day, and they've been working on during the bad weather days, they've been working inside the existing building, trying to get as much done there as possible. So I would request approval of, and this has been reviewed by the architect and recommended for approval, so I concur in that and would request approval of the pay request.
Motion to approve the pay request for Haynes Construction.
I second that. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Also, included in there is a lot of, and the architect was supposed to get all this to me in a formal proposed change order by tonight, but as of meeting time, I had not received anything from him. We have at least 4 items here that I've tried to detail that have come up during the course of construction getting started. And in preparing the bid for this project, the architect made some assumptions on certain items, and we didn't necessarily look at the old building other than what had to be done inside to get the office space that extension needs. One of the things that they discovered, they had, and the contractors submitted some information on, the bids and specifications for the project stated that they were to tie the drainage from the new addition into the existing drainage of the old building, and the same on the drain for the foundation for the new building. Well, the existing building had none of that. There's no underground drains of any kind. The water just coming out of the gutters just goes out on a splash block and then either into the parking lot or into the grass beside of the building. And the area behind this building, and the rear of this building faces the IDA's building there in Pennington, that the town of Pennington uses for offices now. And that area, there's a very, very small swale in there that drainage runs into on the back of the building, but it stays wet most of the time. And during wet weather, it is extremely wet, and drainage is not real well established out there. It eventually gets out, but it's pretty soft back there. The contractor is proposing that he provides some underground drains that they can tie the gutters of the addition as well as the existing building into, and also to basically put a pipe under the sidewalk that will carry drainage on the front side into the parking lot. But a lot of the drainage on the addition would be routed around the building and down the back side to where the grade would carry it away on the east end of the building. That goes towards the river. And when you get to the east end of the building, from that point on eastward, the ground slopes off pretty rapidly. So once you get the water there, it's going to be out of the way and it's not going to be a drainage issue. The proposed cost of adding all the new gutter drains is $4,250, but there's a deduction for the foundation drain that they were supposed to do according to the specs that's not needed, which reduces that down to a total cost of $3,800 to add that in. The architect has reviewed that. They don't see a problem with the cost. They feel like that's in line. Also, the extension office, they naturally are interested in it. They've been visiting the site out there. She asked about the floor covering the other day in the new addition. And as of now, other than the hallway, all the new addition area was supposed to have been carpeted. And there's carpet in much of the existing building. Some of it was scheduled to be removed a portion of it was scheduled to be removed in the area where they're remodeling, and that was to be replaced with vinyl tile. The Extension Office has stated that for their use, they would prefer everything be tile, that it'd be more practical for them and easier to keep clean. I did mention the fact that tile does create a little bit more noise. You don't have the sound absorption that you do with carpet, but they said still for their use, they preferred tile. In the addition, the contractor stating there'd be no cost. It's a wash to do the vinyl tile in place of the carpet. But there are also three offices and one other small area in the existing building that currently has carpet, and they're requesting that be replaced with vinyl tile. That carpet's not in the best shape in the world. It's had a few years of wear. So the cost to do that would be $2,350. Again, the architect, I don't think sees an issue with the cost on that. It's in line. The roof of the existing building, that's the reason I know they were putting shingles on Friday before last, because the contractor called me and he said, "Have you looked at this roof?" I hadn't been on the roof, but he indicated that I thought it looked pretty worn from the ground as far as the shingles, but they're an older style shingle, sort of thin anyway. But where they got to see it up on the roof of the other building, they got a good look at it. And he said actually it appeared that the hailstorm that caused some damage to a lot of other roofs in that area had also caused some damage to that roof. He said there was at least one or two places where it actually had a hole in it. We haven't experienced any leaks inside, but it's probably a matter of time before that happens. By going ahead and replacing the shingles on that roof now, both roofs would match. Instead of they're going to be tied right together. I mean, the two buildings are going to butt right up to each other and be joined. So this would give us a good solid roof on both of them, and it would also match, which gives it a better appearance. Proposed cost on that is $7,250. That includes removing all the existing shingles, replacing up to 5 sheets of damaged plywood if it's there, new felt, putting ice guards around the perimeter of the roof, putting new drip strip and architectural shingles and new shingles over the ridge vent, materials and labor, $7,250. The architect, the note I got back from them, they felt that might be a little bit high, but looking at all the other work that's being proposed, that was probably the total amount for all of this probably was in line with what it would cost. There was one other thing that the contractor had proposed, and this is just more from the aesthetic appearance of the exterior of the building, and that would be to paint all the eaves, windows, and the gable end on the east side of the building. I don't know how many years it's been since it's been painted. We didn't do the maintenance on the building. Mental Health took care of that. Also putting new concrete siding under the windows on the front that would match what's going to be put on the addition. And also installing new guttering and downspouts on that building. And if we put a roof on it, gutters and downspouts are going to have to come anyway. So the proposed cost on that is $5,200. If you add all 4 of those together, you've got a total of $18,600 in proposed changes. Some necessitated by the fact that they just were making assumptions on the drainage. They did not really, I don't know that the architect got on the roof and actually examined the shingles on that old building. They were just looking at them from the ground, and also making the changes requested by extension. And I think moving to the vinyl tile in that existing building is a good move. I know they get a lot of agricultural related visitors coming in. They have a lot of traffic with kids with their 4-H programs and meetings and things like that. So I think the move to tile in both of those buildings is a smart move. Like I say, that final one down there is purely aesthetics in having the building look more like the new addition that's going to be built beside of it. So I don't want to hold these items up. I know the contractor is pushing hard to get this building done well ahead of the contract time. And that's why I'd hoped that the architect would have all this put together in a formal change order request tonight. But if you would like to act on these, then I can have them draw that up, and we go ahead and be prepared to put them into force just as soon as they get that prepared. Just whatever the pleasure of the board is on that.
Is there enough money within that budget?
With the loan funds that we're proposing, yeah,
Yes.
it's going to be tight, but we'll have enough to do it, I think. We had a little bit of bump room.
Well, you know, I don't think we need to cobble that building up.
If we're going to make changes, now's the time to do it,
Yeah.
before they get into the building.
vinyl, you know, it'll last forever. I mean,
Yeah.
it's a lot smarter putting carpet down anyway, I think. And you will always find that you miss something when you start working on buildings such as these.
True.
I'll make a motion, we accept the extension office pay request and change order.
I'll second
You second? Okay. All in favor?
Right.
The next item is the police cruiser bids. Bids were received on February 12th, this past Friday. We had 5 bids. I think you're getting information on that coming across. Was that at the state? Okay, it's going across. I'll wait till everybody's got that. Just make a quick comment while you're getting that. I made this the last item on there. When they stopped production of the Ford Crown Vics, that's what we'd had for years. The majority of our vehicles were Ford Crown Vics. They stopped production on those several years ago, and Chevrolet came out. At one time, they were running the Caprice and the Impala. The Impala was the lowest priced of all police vehicles out there, and we started making the transition to the Impalas. The first few that we bought, we had some issues with, but they corrected those pretty quick, and then nothing's been as dependable as those old Crown Vics. Nothing's lasted as long, but the Impalas, for the price, turned out to be a pretty good car. They're phasing them out as police vehicles now. And Chevrolet has reintroduced the Caprice, which is a heavier vehicle, a little bit larger vehicle, and comes with a higher price tag. So we did not get any bids at all for Impalas. We checked with the Chevrolet dealer that did submit a bid, and we had heard some rumors, so we also went to the company in Richmond that has the state contract on them, and they have stopped production orders for the Impala in a police vehicle right now. So I don't think it's going to be revived, but you can't get them under state contract right now. Last year we bought ours off state contract because we didn't get a bid for them, but we couldn't get them now. I mean, they can't take orders for them. So that's why you don't see anything for an Impala here. First bid was from Auto World for the 2016 Dodge Charger, the 3.6 liter V6. All of these are V6s, that's what we had specified. This is a rear wheel drive vehicle. The bid price on those per vehicle was $22,237. We had proposed to pay 25% down with 3 annual payments. We paid 25 on delivery, and then 3 annual payments thereafter. Total finance cost of those vehicles with the proposal they submitted was $93,052.51. Freedom Chevrolet submitted a bid for the 2016 Chevrolet Caprice, again a 3.6 liter V6 rear wheel drive. Those cars were $27,400 each. There was no financing package submitted, so that total bid is going to run about $110,000. I didn't put the total there because there was no financing included with it. Fairway Ford submitted a bid on the 2016 Ford Taurus. That's a 3.5 liter V6. It is a front wheel drive vehicle. They included, we had a provision in our specifications for the connection for the light package that they use to get gives you that flashing of all of the headlights and the tail lights and everything, that sequenced flashing that they set up on there. We didn't actually want the lights. We have those that will come off the other vehicles, but they included the price of the actual lights themselves. And if you deduct that and add back what the connection hookups would be that we were really looking for, it's worth about $1,150 of a deduction off of their bid price. Their bid price was $24,947. That would drop it down to about $23,800 if you drop that off of it. Total cost with financing is $108,455.16. Freedom Ford submitted a bid for the 2016 Ford Taurus, same engine, 3.5 liter V6 front wheel drive, at a per car cost of $23,248. Total finance cost would be $101,109. And Tim Short Dodge submitted bid on the 2016 Dodge Charger, $25,992, no financing package submitted. Both the Charger and the Taurus are available under state contract, but only in all-wheel drive for the Charger. They don't have the rear-wheel drive only under state contract. The price for the all-wheel drive Charger is slightly over $25,000 with delivery costs added. And the price for the Ford Taurus under state contract is, I think, $1 under $25,000. If I made some quick calculations on that today with delivery costs. So we can't do any better under state contract than what we've got bids for locally here. In seeing the bids, when you look at the per car cost, the Charger from Auto World is the lowest price bid at $22,237. One of the concerns there is it is a rear-wheel drive vehicle. The Sheriff's Office has obtained some information from some other localities on their thoughts on the Charger, those that have them. Some of those include that the rear-wheel drive simply will not go in the snow. You might as well park them because they won't go. They did say, most of them said that they had not had a lot of maintenance issues with them. One of the things they did get was that the original rotors warped pretty quick, but that once they put a heavier duty rotor on the vehicle, they didn't have any more problems with it. They had a comment from one that they started having some engine lifter problems after about 110 or 115,000 miles. Of course, the Impalas would not go in heavy snow. I mean, if you got 18 inches of snow, they were parked. But I talked to the major today. He said they could get them back out on the road pretty quickly after the initial storm moved through. Basically, once the snow plows had began clearing and you didn't have deep snow on the roads, they could get pretty good traction on them. They wouldn't go, where you had to have four-wheel drive, but they would get enough traction with.
Which ones are they?
Since they were front-wheel drive vehicles.
Which one?
The Impalas that we have been running. So also, since we're having, if we buy any, we're going to have to change models. The separation cages between the front and rear seats, the security cages that are installed, they are not interchangeable between the different models. They're custom built for each individual model. We've gone through this when we started making the transition to the Chevrolets. We even talked to the company that does all the radio repairs and installations and everything, if they thought that they could retrofit the ones that we were taking out of the Ford Crown Vics into the Chevrolets. And they took a look at it and they said, they could cut them and manipulate them and work them, but we'd have more in them than if we bought new ones. And they still probably wouldn't fit exactly right. So it's going to be, he's already priced the cost of those, and by the time we get them shipped and get them installed, you're probably going to be looking at somewhere between $800 and $1,000 per car additional for the cages. That's not something we necessarily budgeted for. Also, price has gone up just a little bit, so we may be just a little bit shy on funding with what we've got budgeted this year, but we won't be too much short on what we've got proposed for this. So I'll field any questions if I'll try to answer them.
You know, front wheel drive and rear wheel drive, there's just no question about that. We've all had rear wheel drive cars, and in snow and stuff, that's, you can forget that. And a front wheel drive car anymore, it's good. You know, they'll go. I mean, I come out my place today with front wheel drive. If I hadn't had it, if I'd had the rear wheel drive, I wouldn't have got out. So, you know, I don't think there's any question about the front wheel drive or the rear wheel drive car.
I think we're gonna go with one, it'd be the front wheel drive one as far as that goes.
You know, if you call for help, you want to try to get to you. You don't say you're stuck somewhere and can't get to you. So I just.
Definitely.
Right now, when they have a snow event, everybody that has a four-wheel drive or an all-wheel drive within the department, usually they basically turn them over to the road officers until it clears up enough to where they can get the front-wheel drives back on there. But they only have so many of those. There's probably only 6 of those total that's available to be used even. So it limits what they can do during bad weather.
Mm-hmm.
Then,
Based on the bids received, of course, like I said, the bid from Auto World was the lowest price, but it is a rear-wheel drive. The lowest priced among the front-wheel drives is the bid from Freedom Ford.
I make a motion that we accept the bid from Freedom Ford.
Yeah, I second that.
All in favor?
After or during our joint meeting with the school board last week, or I guess that was week before last now. Snow was affecting my memory.
Yeah.
But based on some discussions we had up there, talked about the possibility of trying to get the budget committee together a little bit sooner in the process. I don't know whether that'll materialize or not, but they have already appointed 2 members to their budget committee, and so at this point, it may be appropriate for this board to appoint a couple of members to serve on that committee as well, so we maybe can try to schedule some meetings.
Want to do that?
I'll second that. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I bet there. Meeting.
Larry.
Right.
No.
Yeah, point right.
The reason I decline that probably has nothing to do with it, but I do have a son that teaches here in Lee County, and I don't want people to say there's a conflict of interest or anything. I don't want to get into that, and you know how people talk, and probably wouldn't be, but that's why I would decline that.
Well, I would hope it wouldn't be, because I have a teacher also.
With my wife teaching,
So
it's
I
got
think we're
nothing.
all in that position.
Yeah, it's got nothing to do with it, really.
Nominate Larry.
No, I don't think Charlie. You're the numbers man.
I don't want to mess with that.
But neither one of you all want it. Nathan's not here. We can just go ahead and
Yeah.
We ain't
make
got
a
no
motion
choice.
to appoint Nathan
That's the way you
Cole.
do it. I think that's his wife too.
All in favor of Nate
Yes, he
Nathan?
Aye.
Aye.
And by the way, Nathan, he had missed tonight. His son was possibly one of his last high school ball games.
Where they playing?
They were playing in
UVA
Wise.
Wise, playing Twin Springs.
We wish him luck.
The next item there, the social services building sublease agreement. This is a proposed agreement between the county and the Department of Social Services for their office building. The lease currently in effect has been reviewed by the State Department of Social Services, and they've developed this new lease to comply with all the requirements set forth by the state. The lease the lease payments are the same. Nothing's changed there. A lot of the language is the same, but there are some additional components that they've added to it, again, just to comply with state requirements. Well, I don't think there's anything else at this point that needs to be dealt with. I think we've ironed out all the issues with it. So as presented there, I think is as good as it's going to get to satisfy them and to keep the local department in the graces of the State Department of Social Services.
Was any changes, thing?
They basically took we had a pretty simple agreement. It had to be pretty simple because I drafted it. It just covered, covered what we felt like were the issues, but the state turned it over to their legal department, I guess, and with the regulations they have and what they want to see. They added a few things, but it really doesn't amount to anything major of a change or any requirements on this other than what we already had. The only thing that the only other change that I think we need to address now, we signed the original agreement back in '06 or '07, and they've been looking at this for 2 or 3 years, and they had submitted a proposal at one time, but it hadn't reached the point that it was to come before this board, and then it sort of just dropped, and they picked it back up again this past year when they were down doing their review. They've got this thing dated back in 2010, and I don't know why they don't just say that it's effective as of 2006 when the original agreement was, but show a current date as the date of signing. They submitted this recently, and apparently they didn't look at it, that they're asking a notary public to acknowledge and notarize that it was signed in 2010. Well, that's impossible to do now since we're just getting around to signing it here in early 2016. So I think that needs to be changed, and I just need to take that up to them and make sure they don't have any heartburn with it. They still show an effective date that will cover us back to this point. So that's the only other change that needs to be made that I can see.
Did you take a look at it? Did you take a look at it?
I did. Most of my questions didn't have to do with the substance of the contract, but I'm just thinking about, repayment and everything that's going through there. I was trying to remember what we did years ago about structure, loan and payments and everything. But no, I don't see any major problem with it.
These are the payment schedules over here.
Yeah.
So that means this year they're paying $26.97 a month. Am I looking at that wrong?
26.94.97 per month starting July. See, there's the escalator.
Well, what's this base rent, Colin?
That's something they came up with. Don't ask me what that
has
means.
nothing to do with what they're paying.
I don't know where they came up with that, but that's a column they added. We just had the monthly payment. It started at that 1824.06, and it increased 5% a year.
So when I'm dead and gone, they'll be paying $9,586. Okay.
But if there's no requested changes, I would request the board approve this.
Okay, do I hear a motion to approve the contract with Social Services?
I'll make a motion to approve.
Second.
All right. Now, understand we are going to go into closed
We
session?
need a vote on that.
Okay.
We need a motion and
I
second.
thought we
I
voted
didn't hear the
on that.
vote.
All in favor?
I don't know if the county attorney has anything tonight or not. Okay. Before you, the only thing that's under my request or report is the request for closed session under investment of public funds. I do have a couple of other things.
Okay.
And again, both of these, one of them has been in the works, but I thought we were going to wait until next month to present it. And the lending agency has changed my schedule a little bit, I guess. That resolution. This resolution has to do with funding for the transfer station and the extension office building in the form of a loan from the Virginia Municipal League, Virginia Association of Counties Financing Authority. I went to attended the IDA meeting earlier this month, and they adopted a similar resolution stating that they would be willing to serve as the applicant for this loan on behalf of the county. We had originally set the amount at $1.3 million. The VACO VML staff recommended that we go ahead. They asked if we had any other projects out there. And immediately, the only things that I saw on the near horizon that were related to these is that once extension moves to the new location, this building down here will be vacant. We've discussed previously the prospect of demolishing that building, and since there'd be no practical use for it after they move out, and then looking at possibly doing some grade work on that site and developing some additional parking. We could actually move more of we need to get the regional jail vans off the street. We do have them some reserved parking spaces out there, but it's a pretty good walk up through there when they've got, I've seen them come in there with probably as many as 15 inmates or more strung out all up through there to get them up to the holding area before they can take them on up to court. So if we could get them up off the street into an area closer to the holding cells, that would be good. Also, we've got some reserved spots across the street that are reserved for 911 dispatchers. The entry into dispatch for them, for employees, is down on the west side of the building, so they could actually be parking down there and get them off the street and open up more on-street parking out here. And then we also, the old jail pad that the sheriff's office uses for parking now, it needs drainage issues addressed. It holds water. We've got, like I said, I think I mentioned previously about the old rebar that's coming up through the concrete and different things. It's just not the best thing. So I advised them that, those are a couple things that we were looking at potentially, so we went ahead. I just gave them some estimates on what costs would be for those projects if they were done. And they recommended that we just go ahead and get approval to issue the note up to $1.5 million. Now, this does not, and that's what this resolution includes in it, does not bind you to borrow $1.5 million. You are not bound to any amount until you actually close the loan with them. So it would give us some time to explore that and discuss it a little bit more before we actually close a loan on this, but it would be a possible source for funding to do that additional work. So this resolution basically authorizes us to proceed with an application for this, either in the name of the county or the IDA, and since we did not hold a referendum for voter approval to issue debt, then it will need to go through the IDA, and again, they've already agreed earlier this month to be the applicant for this. So we have submitted a preliminary application just for them to begin the review process and to begin to look at how they best would approach banks about issuing this loan. So this just gives us, it's a formal resolution that allows us to move forward with the application process and authorizes us to sign any documents that might have to be done in the way of applications. it no means obligates you to any amount of loan or anything. That'll all come in documents at a later date. We're also looking at how the loan would be secured. I had a phone discussion with them late last week on that, looking at some options on what we would do, and that's still not been settled yet. So the other thing this does, it locks in the, because we have already incurred some costs, there's a look-back period of 30 or 60 days that we can cover, bring those costs into a non-taxable debt issue. Some of the costs prior to that time would be under a taxable issue, which simply means the interest rate will be just a slightly higher on that portion of the note. But this allows us, by adopting this tonight, to bring as much as possible of that into the non-taxable, which brings the interest rate down, and I think that's what we all prefer. So if you have any other questions, I'll try to explain them. It's a boilerplate document. It's very similar to the one that the IDA adopted, and it's required by both bodies, since both bodies are party to the note.
So this is like a line of credit.
Well, it's not a line of credit. It'll be a formal note, but this just allows us to move forward with the process and locks down a date for the taxable portion and the non-taxable portion. The longer we delay, then that delays that pushes more of it into the taxable issue rather than non-taxable. Not taxable to us, but the interest is taxable to the buyers.
Any discussion?
And again, this puts you under no obligation whatsoever, other than saying you are looking at obtaining a loan through the VML VACO finance.
Well, I'll stick my neck out here and make a motion that we apply for it.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
The last item I have, Sheriff's Office brought this by last Friday. They are requesting permission to apply for the American Police and Sheriff's Association Equipment Donation Grant. It would allow their office to purchase new equipment and replace some of the department's old equipment. It would help them, they're saying that it would help them in providing protection to Lee County and officer safety as well. It does not require a match of any kind. I talked with him a little bit this afternoon about what type of equipment they were talking about specifically. They talked with the folks at the grant authority, and they encouraged them to apply for some SUVs, four-wheel drive SUVs. Currently, we have 3 or 4 that are issued to the investigators that are in poor shape, and they're hoping to be able to replace them with that. The folks there, they encourage them to apply for that specifically. They're also looking at new batteries and pads for their AED units that are carried in the cruisers. Also a metal detector and some night vision equipment. What they've got is very outdated in those respects. That may not be everything, but that's and I think the big items that they're looking at is the 4 vehicles. And again, there's no local match. They simply want the board's approval to apply for it.
I'll make that motion that we request permission to apply for the American Police and Sheriff Association Equipment Donation Grant.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Mr. Chairman, that's all I have, except for the request for a closed session for investment of public funds.
All righty. All in favor of going into closed
We
session?
need a motion.
Okay, we need a motion. I'll make a motion to go into closed session. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Here, Larry?
Got a motion, Charlie.
Okay, all in favor?
Big baby, Charlie.
All, okay.
I make a motion that we go in to closed session under 2.2-3711A6, investment of public funds.
I'll second that motion, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay.